Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. In this tutorial, I'll go over how to color a nose from the side using the Color Therapy app. I know drawing and shading a nose is one of the biggest asked questions, so I'll show you how to shade one with ease. So the best way to learn how to shade a nose is to look at your own nose in the mirror. Then you'll know where to put the shadows and the highlights. So I already got started with this by adding in the face color and other things to give it context. So let's zoom into the nose. And luckily we already have a template to work from, so we don't need to actually draw the lines. All we need to do is just shade it. The face color that I used for this is under skin shades, I used the 5th color. So it's always easier to break it down with just a few shapes. So if we look at this nose right here, we're gonna see a circle right here, as well as right here, and then it goes up sort of into a triangle shape. So that's how we want to work on shading it. Under the Skin Shades palette, set that to solid, go under the 2nd row and choose the 6th color. So I'm just using a medium brown. Using the airbrush tool, let's set the size to 30 and opacity at 25. So let's begin by adding in our biggest shadows. So let's just follow these lines going down the nose here, along the bridge, around where the nostril is, and kind of bring it around, just kind of visualizing where those circles are. And just shading underneath the nostril. Now let's lower the size to 1%, and we're going to trace just where we see the nostril line right here, and the nostril itself, and then underneath the nose, just following that line all the way up. Now let's raise the size to 14 to add some more shadows. And just continue adding more shadows. So your darkest shadow is going to be right underneath the tip of the nose there and along the sides of the nostril. So we're essentially just building up our shadows. Now let's smear and blend a little bit with the smear tool. Set the opacity at 100 and the size at 40, and just go ahead and just blend those shadows really softly all the way up and around the nose. Now set the airbrush tool to size 1 and opacity at 75, and we're going to draw the nostril holes. And on the bottom row, just choose the first dark brown color and just kind of trace around there. Since I'm looking at my nose, I actually see that it's going to be darker on this side and kind of come down. And I'm using the darkest brown in that palette now and just adding in a darker shadow into the nostril in the furthest part of that hole. So it's kind of, you're almost looking up into it. And use a smear tool, just bring the size down to 1 and just very carefully blend it. So we don't have any harsh lines. Now let's add a bit of highlights. Let's set the size to 25 and opacity at 45 now. And I'm going to use the lightest color from the palette and just add a highlight at the very tip of the nose, and I'm just drawing a circle. And you can bring it up just a tiny bit. And there will also be a highlight around the nostril area too. And I want to add a bit more of a low light underneath the tip of the nose. So with the airbrush tool, set the size to 1 and opacity at 30. And I'm using the 5th color on the 2nd row. So I'm just adding in this darker shadow, but just barely. And then using the smear tool to nicely blend it. And that's it. Check out my other tutorial on how to color a nose from the front for a complete guide to shading noses. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Color Therapy YouTube channel so you don't miss any new tutorial videos. Thanks for watching our tutorial. You can get the Color Therapy app for free on the App Store.